moved to Plymouth 20 years ago and I live right in the city centre. It's a place that I really love living, especially grown to appreciate through COVID, you know, when you couldn't really go anywhere. Armada Way would be a route that we would walk a couple of times a week. We would always go right through the middle, through all the windy paths and in amongst all the trees. And it was just a really lovely green space in the middle of town, really valued, I think, by a lot of people. I first saw the plans right at the end of September 2022. You know, lots of trees on Armada Way currently, and I wonder, you know, how many they were going to keep or cut down, and there was no information about the trees in the plans in the newspaper, certainly. So after that, I just started doing a bit of digging around to try and figure it out. So I immediately started the Facebook group for Straw, Save the Trees of Armada Way, and I set up the petition. And yeah, it sort of grew quite quickly, really. You know, people were immediately shocked and surprised about what they'd found out, just like I was. Our campaign was never against a redevelopment. We always were arguing for the trees to be incorporated into the plan. If not all, most of them would have been good. The design never considered the trees in any way. It always involved the almost wholesale removal of the trees. Our goal was the petition, but also encouraging people to write to their councillors, because obviously as a group, we have no power. We submitted the petition at the end of December, by which point it had 10,500 signatures. The council accepted, I think it was something 9,200 of those. The rest were largely outside of the area, so they discounted those. It was eventually debated at a full council meeting at the end of January 2023. We put together a really long letter, which we sent to the council, outlining where we felt they'd failed, you know, in the process up until that point. We were very nervous about moving forward with a legal challenge. You know, it's a big deal. Taking on your local authority is not something that I ever thought I would be doing. Really scary, really expensive. At first, we weren't sure whether they were actually going to just fence the area off or do any felling or anything. It took them a few hours to set up, and it wasn't until we saw them with ear defenders on that we realised what was going to happen. Earlier on in the evening, a few people had got over the hoardings. So I think they were arrested and then de-arrested later. I spoke to the lawyer who had been on the phone to the High Court judge for ages, you know, right in the middle of the night, and she said about 12:30 that he had approved it. We were just waiting on it to be signed. We had finally managed to contact somebody from the council. We found it really hard to find anybody to serve the injunction to because everyone was being obstructive, the police, the security guards, contractors. Luckily, Mark, my husband, had gone home to check on the dog. And so I rang him and said, stay at home. We might need you to print something out before you come back. And it took another half an hour before the injunction was signed. Can we just give you this?
Oh, yes, thank you.
They had actually stopped when they got the email from my lawyer, but it was sort of exciting when he turned up with a bit of paper.
Do you have anything to say?
People of Plymouth, Paul?
Because all of that noise that had been going on for hours and hours, about 5 hours, just suddenly stopped. And then all you could hear was this blackbird, which was really heartbreaking. Council then decided to try and overturn the injunction. The following days, the newspapers and the news on the TV were absolutely full of stories about this, and they weren't positive stories. You know, it was almost a universal condemnation of what they did. Following the night when they cut the trees down, the crowd justice campaign went crazy, and it's now on nearly £24,000, which is absolutely amazing. One donation was £500. A little group of us got a minibus up to London. We left at 4:30 in the morning. Lots of people would have come with us, except there was a chance that the council would win and they would crack on while we were all away. So lots of people really wanted to stay just to be vigilant.
Say trees!
never would have expected anything like this to happen. I mean, anyone that knows me knows that I hate making speeches. I hate, anything like that. I basically planned my whole life around not public speaking and not having anything stressful happen to me in my whole life. And this whole process has just been completely different to anything I'm used to or anything really wanted to happen. But obviously the goal was to try and save the trees. If this campaign showed anything, it's how much people really love trees. And it's been really interesting, actually. People who didn't really notice urban trees, trees near where they live before, have been saying to me, I've really started noticing all the trees around me and how wonderful they are and how lucky we are.